This is part 2. Watch part 1 first. Ah!
Baby, why don't you just meet me in the middle? What it is, ho, what's up? Every good girl needs a little love.
If the Rihanna song was the most disappointing hit of the year, then this was the most infuriating hit of the year. What we have here is a girl who sampled some cut by Trillville and made it sound great. It's extremely infectious and fun. Hell, the solo version of this would probably be a good 40 spots higher on this list. But then, you know, this happens.
You know who to come to every time the world handling bad. The one he called first, but still he always put it last.
Yeah, if you want to listen to this, then all the solo versions are pretty clearly marked like lights on a runway. Kodak Black is the goose that flew into the engine and made the plane crash. And I'll give him credit, he does have the voice of an exploding goose.
Being black in America is the hardest thing to be.
Oh my god, you can't play the race card when you get locked up for being an actual psychopath, dipshit. And on the subject of people who can't sing, taking a misguided stab at social commentary.
All my life.
Well, this is easily the second most embarrassing thing J. Cole has ever done. Pretty default for Lil Durk, honestly. 2023 has gone down as pretty definitively the worst year in the history of hip-hop, and this song is a perfect example of the scraps of driftwood rappers needed to cling on to in order to survive. Cole's bit about the fucked up way our culture treats rappers who die young elevates this to slightly above pure mediocrity, but it still kind of feels like Busta Rhymes randomly bursting into Look at Me Now by Chris Brown. Like, get out of here, man. Talented people aren't welcome here.
Coming live from the 1 out of 5. Coming live from the 3, 2 time. Whole game.
This is the closest Drake has ever come to recapturing the appeal of sicko mode, and that is genuinely quite sad. It's this high purely off the novelty of this sound for me. If I were more well-versed in rage music, this would probably be extremely insulting, but to my untrained ears, it sounds like a perfectly serviceable mid-album transition piece, which means that I am listening to Drake in the way that God intended, as a person who doesn't know any better.
But as good as it is tough, I got a heart like a truck.
Oh, fuck yeah, pump my ventricles full of gas, baby. Okay, yeah, no, not doing that. Perfectly mid-little country song by a very talented woman who needs to stop writing with men, singing with men, being around me. You know, just keep Lainey Wilson away from men. It's gonna result in much better music. Cut the guy who writes with Mitchell Tenpenny out of the equation, and exclusively work with your female co-writer, last name Anderson, first name Trent. This is a song where Karol G is trying to hit on another girl, and she brought this guy along with her as a wingman.
Like she was made for moving on.
Yeah, at this point, 3 out of 5 Luke Combs love songs are chasing me down dark alleyways in my sleep. Thank God for Fast Car, or I might have actually written him off this year. And Sean has an almost illegally white moment in 3, 2, 1.
Peligroso, tu culo redondo.
Look, say what you will about me and what I do here, but you can never say that I am not honest. And if I like the shitty, watered-down, marshmallowed sound of regional Mexican music better than about 2/3 of the legit crossovers from that genre we had this year, I'm not gonna lie to you about that. I mean, obviously it's not great. I am very aware of how objectively lame it is that one of my favorite regional Mexican hits of the year is the one in goddamn 4/4 time, but honestly, the guy from Forza Regida always kind of struck me as a pricky douchebag with an extremely grating voice, so I think he kind of benefits from being watered down a bit, to be totally honest. Wow, if I had a nickel for every big regional Mexican hit in 2023 named after a woman who fell in love with the Joker, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? I have been quoting that line as an in-joke with my friend for years before it became a meme. I don't care that everyone's sick of it now. God damn it, I am tenured.
Lucky, lucky girl. She got married to a boy like you.
Kind of funny how we thought this song might actually change things in pop music, like it might actually be influential rather than just a fluke curiosity that everyone checked out and then moved on from. Makes sense. Sam Smith is the kind of artist who seems like they've never had sex without sadly puffing a cigarette afterwards, and all their big showy attempts to be overtly sexual afterwards kind of struck me like MC Hammer trying to portray himself as a hardcore gangbanger. Like, I don't care if that's actually who you are in real life, stick to fiction if you don't want to look absolutely fucking ridiculous. Honestly, this song using the aesthetics of dark, devious depravity and sexual transgression without actually doing anything that shocking, making normies feel like they're getting away with something by listening to it, Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras is the 50 Shades of Grey of the 2020s. And with that in mind, I think it should cherish my middling feelings towards it as a triumphant success.
I can buy myself flowers.
Over the past year, Flowers by Miley Cyrus has come to be the new standard of song you'll hear nonstop in a JCPenney that no one actually likes all that much. And that's kind of a shame considering how much this song clearly means to Miley. I went on a big rant about that earlier this year if you want to check that out. But yeah, I won't lie, I'm sick of it too. It's really quite dull structurally, the lyrics are kind of dumb when you take a step back from them, and it really could have used a key change or some grand orchestral swell or just something to really hit that final verse home. But then again, maybe that was the point. This isn't meant to be a grand showy statement of any kind, it's just meant to be Miley calmly showing off the new, healthy, well-adjusted vibe she's living on these days. And clearly it struck a chord with a whole lot of people. So you know what? Fair play. I'll let it slide.
Bury me in Georgia. Let me rest in peace.
Kane Brown needs to make more songs like this and less about his wife, Caitlyn, or his dog, Kipper, or his kids, Kyle, Kevin, and Katie, or his cool cream-colored Kia.
Here's all you need. Shake that ass and drink.
Oh, poor Sexy Red. Finally gets her big breakthrough, and it's with a song where in 2024 she is singing Shake That Ass for Drake. Whatever. She's campaigning for Trump. Those two deserve each other. Solid song. Good groove, but ugh.
She wearing cheetah print. That's how bad she won't be spotted around your boy.
I'm probably gonna die a virgin.
And I just fell in love with a gangster, so he put my name in the top.
You know, I was thinking of saying that Ice Spice is just Jack Harlow for college girls, but that would get me canceled, so I'm not gonna say that out loud. I had a lot of jokes lined up about this one, like how Nicki is more in the American Idol judge phase of her career right now than she was 11 years ago, how Ice Spice raps like an old lady coughing, how I'm not really sure why I kinda like this one despite all of that, and how this is easily the most boring year-end number 69 song of all time. But none of that is important because I was just doing research on Ice Spice and I discovered that her last name is Gaston. No one raps like Gaston, twerks their ass like Gaston.
Can't you see what you're doing, girl? You know damn near everything I love.
A little closer to the Johnny Cash side of the country than you tend to get these days. I can dig it. I mean, it's still lame, that stupid honky-tonk shit in the background just laying it on a bit thick, but I see the appeal. This is the highest rated Morgan Wallen song in this video, and until writing this bit, I kinda forgot that it even existed. The good songs on Dangerous were genuinely great, while the good songs on One Thing at a Time are only good insofar as they succeed at being catchy, inconsequential filler. Hope that totem of undying served you well, Wallen. Let's see what the future holds.
I don't pop out, but it's each to their own. I bet she hate when I be on my phone.
So the two trap artists able to survive the TikTok era are Gunna and the Ransom Kid. Yeah, that tracks. Shout out to Hispanic women who hate their exes. Gotta be one of my favorite genders for real.
Keep the windows down and the wind in her hair. Keep her heart hanging on round every turn.
Alright, what we have here is a song written by Morgan Wallen that he was inspired to write after watching an episode of Sex and the City. No, I'm not fucking kidding. That was originally recorded by some Canadian guy before this cover by newcomer Corey Kent hit it big. It's not really anything special, a bit safer, less neo-traditional, and with a less interesting voice than the original, but it works. Just for clarification, what did the original sound like again?
Saw that highway unwind in a deep brown ice. She saw a long stretch of dirt road dreaming of mine.
Oh shit, so that's what the Richmond, north of Richmond guy would have sounded like if he accepted those Nashville contracts.
I only talk to God when I need a favor.
This is the best version of this guy's one trick. Can we please just stick the knife in, spread the jelly, and move on now?
Stain on my shirt, new bitch on my nerves. Oh, nigga got curved.
It's actually kind of astonishing just how strong the man, this SZA song sure does exist vibes are with this one. I will never understand why this was pushed as a single, especially when she had Kill Bill and Nobody Gets Me sitting in the bank. I compared it to Need to Know by Doja Cat earlier this year, by which I mean they both have a kind of circular flow to them that sounds really ignorable in passing and gets a lot better when you sit down with it. But Need to Know has only gotten better and better the more chances I've given it, while Shirts emphatically has not.
She the devil, she a bad little bitch, she a rebel.
Just like Harley Quinn and Lady Gaga, this song is responsible for one of the funniest Two Nickels moments we've had in pop music in quite some time.
I put good dick all in my kidneys.
Don't put this here in your kidney, please.
Yep. 2015 had Michelle Pfeiffer, 2023 had kidney fucking. There's probably one specific guy out there who I never want to meet who is just absolutely weeping with joy right now.
You said it was true love, but wouldn't that be hard?
Nah, it's fine. Y'all are just mean.
In Georgia, they call it a sin. I'm wearing Tennessee orange brand.
A country girl singing a Romeo and Juliet song about dating someone who supports a rival football team is a concept I'm genuinely shocked it took us this long to get, and she sticks the landing pretty well to make an inessential but charming little thing. I mean, if the gossip mills are to be believed, then her orange-clad boy toy with Morgan Wallen and rumors about her secretly dating him were what made this go viral, so whoops, that's a little bit tainty, but yeah, whatever. Good effort. Hope she has more hits. Real quick reminder to please give this video a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and think of some comments you want to leave below. If you watch this video up to this point, then I have to assume you enjoy what I'm doing here at least a little bit, and the more interaction I get, the more likely YouTube is to share my videos with more people. So if you could take the couple seconds necessary to do that, I would really appreciate it. Come to realize that every generation needs at least one transcendent, universally beloved song in 3/4 time. Gen X had Piano Man, Millennials had Iris by the Goo Goo Dolls, and I have hope that Until I Found You becomes that song for us, especially because the best candidate we have for that right now is Perfect by Ed Sheeran. And if anyone butts into the comments to whine to me about how those songs are actually in bass 8 rather than bass 4, I will hit you over the head with your own nerd glasses.
Drinking watermelon moonshine.
This is just strawberry wine again, he said, as if that was a bad thing.
And is it over now?
No, it's not, Taylor, and it won't be for a while. Kinda ready for it to be though, not gonna lie. After becoming the first person in American history to have the biggest album of the year with an album that wasn't in English, I'm a bit surprised that Bad Bunny's follow-up to Un Verano Sin Ti didn't hit nearly as big. Then again, I guess it makes sense. Un Verano was an all-time great summer album released in a year where it had very little competition in that regard, whereas Nadie Sabe Lo Que Va a Pasar Mañana was an October release with a very different vibe. It seemed to be split between songs like Monaco, solid but predictable attempts to win back some of his original trap audience that was alienated by his boppier summer jam direction with one half, and with the other half... Yep. Jersey Club. You know, that thing that was a thing for a minute there before regional Mexican music completely stole its thunder as the big wacky breakout genre of 2023. Okay, I'm not being fair. Jersey Club still has a strong presence, even if most of its fans seem to have moved on to Rage at this point. And at least we got the very cool novelty of a Bad Bunny Jersey Club track out of it. I honestly trust this guy to sell out way more than I trust most people. Much like the Dick in My Kidneys, I'm sure this song is fulfilling the wildest pie-in-the-sky wishes for someone. Unlike the Dick in My Kidneys guy, I am happy for this hypothetical person. But this hypothetical person is not me. For my money, I say go stream Mojave Ghost instead.
It's the season of the sticks that I sock your mom.
Keep my mom's sock out of your fucking mouth!
I got a career that takes my time away from women.
Quiero comerte yo todos los días. Me enamorabas con lo que decías.
I've already spoken at length about the big Corridos boom, and this was the warning shot that really signaled its arrival in full. Since I've already given my thoughts on it from an analytical perspective in my other videos, I want to take a moment to talk about how this genre's arrival hit me personally. And from that perspective, I think it was a very welcome change of pace. I am an English-speaking person who has gotten most of the Spanish content I've experienced from an English perspective. And so from that perspective, the vibe I get from this reminds me of those songs that play in the background of a scene of Dexter to signify to the audience that it's a Spanish-speaking area. And I like Dexter. It was a really good show for like 3 seasons. Yeah, maybe 4. Season 5 was kind of weird. I'm not a fan of the overwhelming religious themes in season 6, and the twist kind of felt forced. Like, it didn't really make any sense. And honestly, they really jumped the shark in the worst way by having Deb fall in love with... Anyways, yeah, that's why I like Bebe Dame by Fuerza Regida and Grupo Frontera.
I went and bought the biggest bottle they got, 'cause you're gone.
A solid but overall unspectacular country song, only up this high because it randomly decided to drop some of the best lines I heard in any country song this year out of nowhere.
Tennessee and Kentucky, 'cause you ain't here to love me.
Okay, that is a very good rhyme.
After all this back and forth, a fifth won't do.
That is some great wordplay.
I tell myself that I should quit, but I don't listen to drunks.
And that is absolutely heartbreaking, goddamn. Apparently when writing this, he specifically tried to tone down the big hooks and emphasize lyrical details, and holy shit, it paid off. Learn from this, Nashville.
Out of my mind, how many times did I tell you?
God, I am so glad that I'm one of the lucky ones who likes this song. 2024 must be hell for the rest of y'all. Like, Jesus.
I lose control.
Yeah, I dig this. I like bluesy Jelly Roll. blueberry jelly roll.
How can us lose and miss the moment? You were just too important.
Probably my biggest I don't get it hit of the year. I think it's good but entirely unspecial, and I don't understand why everyone loves it so damn much. This is the least essential song I've heard from this album besides maybe Shirt, but then again, SZA does have an absolutely amazing default. I don't know if most people realize just how many slow jams there were in the late 90s and early 2000s. Like, that was most of what people were buying back then. And so I think an attempt to replicate that sound right down to bringing in Babyface himself as the producer was a great homage to that era. I would also argue it's a good homage because most of that era's slow jams were also way sammier and less exciting than people would like to admit, but agree to disagree, I guess. This song sounds like a sunset night in Animal Crossing New Horizons, back when we were all living in this beautiful, cozy world as an escape from the insanity of the pandemic. You know, back before we all realized the game was actually kind of mid. Well, that's the lowest common denominator Mitski song if I ever heard one.
What I was made for.
Alright, fine, it's growing on me, shut up.
I would want myself. Let me please believe it.
I don't think we need a Camila Cabello around, but our current Camila Cabello seems to be on her last legs, and I definitely like what this Camila Cabello is doing a lot better, so, yeah, sure.
So fucking crazy. I'm in these Texas boys and ran it up a couple maybe.
Mom, I want sicko mode. Stop your whining, son. We have sicko mode at home. But Mom, Drake songs aren't allowed within 500 feet of home since children live there.
Watch me.
Dance the night away.
The summer of Barbenheimer was an absolutely magical time, and every listen of this song brings me back to that magical time of, you know, a year ago. This may be just another Dua Lipa song, but A, it's a Mark Ronson just another Dua Lipa song, and B, I do love how kind of self-consciously shallow and stupid it is to fit in with the themes of the movie. It's kind of like Glad You Came by The Wanted. It's a song that's actually pretty smart if you're willing to engage with it on its own dumb level, and that gives me that little extra bit to chew on that I really appreciate. It's basically everything is awesome for 19-year-old girls instead of 12-year-old boys, and it's probably the all-time definitive song to come out of the beautiful, talented artist who invented Go Girl, Give Us Nothing.
Is it K-Dot, is it Aubrey or me? We the big three like we started a league.
And on the subject of Barbenheimer, yeah, do you ever wonder what J. Robert would say if you could go back and interview him a few minutes before the first bomb went off?
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
A really good two-step British garage song made by a BTS member and the girl who made that Big Dick Energy song that will keep the most racist song in Billboard history from debuting at #1. Well, you heard the darts. Japanese city pop from the 80s is some of the best music ever made, and more things should try to sound like it. Okay, so quick question. Have you guys ever heard of a game called Sonic CD? It was a Sonic the Hedgehog game released in 1993 for the Sega CD, an extra add-on to the main Genesis console. Because it used this weird extra CD technology, the game was never included whenever Sega released all their classic games onto newer consoles. Because of this, Sonic CD became this sort of lost cult classic fan favorite, the game the fan base loved more than anything else in the world, the game that, according to the series' most diehard fans, never really got the fair chance it deserved and represented everything the series should be. I remember a lot of video game countdowns and listicles in the early 2010s saying that Sonic CD was one of the best Sonic games ever made. And it was just kind of taken as good faith for a long time that this game was the pinnacle of everything great about the series. And then, you know, over time, game emulation got better, technology wasn't as much of a barrier to entry, and so Sega finally got a chance to widely distribute this all-time uber hardcore fan favorite to more people. And everyone was like, wow, I mean, yeah, there's a lot to like about this, but yeah, it's kind of a bit clunky and archaic in places. It's really strangely designed when you just take a step back. I mean, it's good, don't get me wrong, definitely deserves to be called a classic, but man, now that I'm seeing this literally everywhere, maybe it's possible that we were overhyping it just a wee little bit. Just a little.
If you wanna
Statistically speaking, I probably should be creaming myself over this one, considering it's the bluesy hard rock wailer we all knew Chris Stapleton had in him, and it sounds massive and majestic in a way that I've been begging pop music to aim for a long time. But I don't know, this one is just not clicking all the way for me. I think the problem for me is that it kind of feels like it wants to have its cake and eat it too. Like it's this huge showy spectacle of badass flexing, but it also wants to be heartfelt and sentimental. And I feel like the signature Chris Stapleton heart that everyone loves so much is kind of holding this back from what it really wants to be. Like, you compare this to something like Blaze of Glory by John Bon Jovi, a song with a similar sound and energy, where John Bon is just hamming it up to the heavens and just letting himself fully embrace the ridiculous fiction of it all. And I'm just left wishing that Stapleton would just let himself go full-on wild with these lyrics, rather than keeping it confined to a pretty straightforward "you'd be better off without me" love story. I don't know, like, still good, obviously, the aesthetic is masterful, and Stapleton is a great performer, but man, I wish this had gone as far with its concept as it had with its sound.
Solid, I'm keeping my word. Can't be my equal, don't know what you heard.
And you compare that to a song like this, a song with no extraordinary ambition, but which does what it wants to do extremely well. Between this and Not Like Us, I really hope that Colin responds hip-hop has a place in the future.
Voy a conquistar tu familia, que en unos días vas a ser mía.
Esta canción fue un soplo de aire fresco en una escena musical latina dominada por el reggaetón durante los últimos 4 años. Como alguien que había explorando mucho la música española más allá de ese género, me emocionó descubrir esto desde el momento en que presioné play. Me estaba transportando a un mundo de vivacidad y espontaneidad que rara vez se encuentran en los éxitos convencionales. El enérgico trompetío llamó mi atención de inmediato, creando una combinación perfecta de vivacidad y energía que el mercado inglés anhelaba, junto con una paleta melódica e instrumental que sentía ambas cosas, familiar y refrescantemente novedoso. Hay una alegría en la simplicidad de su música que es difícil de encontrar hoy en día. Es como presenciar un fenómeno cultural que se desarrolla ante tus ojos. Estás feliz de que está sucediendo, pero te quedas preguntándote de dónde vino y lo que todo esto significa. Todavía no tengo una explicación para este fenómeno, pero estoy emocionado de que haya sucedido y me gustaría disculparme formalmente con todos los hispanohablantes de mi audiencia por burlarse horriblemente de su hermoso idioma. Agua.
I'll dance, dance, dance with my hands, hands, hands.
This was officially released as a single this year, in 2023, after it went viral on TikTok because a sped-up version of it got put in a bunch of Wednesday memes, making it possibly the longest ever gap between the release of a single and the release of the album it comes from. 12 years. This album is entering middle school right now. And speaking of middle schoolers, I actually think the TikTok kids were about halfway right with this one. It does sound a good deal better sped up. It does not sound better pitched up, though. I don't get why they keep pitching the songs up. Like, it can't just be a stimming thing, right? It's not that hard to speed songs up without pitching them up. Like, it shouldn't even take the dumbest of kids very long to figure it out. Just download Audacity and press like 3 buttons.
I said, okay, my infatuation.
And this one does not sound better sped up, but yeah, whatever. I'm just happy anytime the kids find a good one. Should have been After the Storm, but I can't really complain. I still don't get Earthquake. Let's take this one step at a time, y'all. Real quick, in case you didn't know, because I talk about copyrighted music on this channel, I have not made a dime from YouTube in the more than half a decade I've spent running this channel. And so I am 100% dependent on my supporters on Patreon to make income from the vast amount of time, effort, and energy that goes into making these videos. If you enjoy what I'm doing here, even a small pledge on Patreon would be immeasurably helpful. Pledges start at just $1, literally just 4 quarters per video, and aside from supporting me, you'll get tons of rewards for your pledges, such as voting for what I talk about next, access to a community of awesome people on my Discord server, early access to my videos before they premiere, and direct contribution to my videos through my Grab Bag review series, my fan rankings, and several other community-driven projects I have in the works. More information can be found at the link in this video's description.
Baby, show me you can calm down, dance with me and take the lead now.
I'm a bit annoyed we're still doing the whole thing of, don't worry you dumb Americans, here's a name you'll recognize on this foreign song, it won't bite. But Selena Gomez does actually make this uncharacteristically better, so who am I to complain? I really appreciate when they take 2 people on a remix and actually harmonize with each other to make it richer, you know, when it actually sounds like they were in the same recording session together. Something I've also come to appreciate more and more in songs lately is actual real drum work. The drums here actually sound really warm and genuine, like they build over the course of the song, and so do the harmonizations. It's just really nice overall. Like, this is peaceful, like a morning on a misty lake, but with a pulse to it. And while overplay has taken its toll, I still like this more than I liked most things this year.
Painter, baby, you could be the muse. I'm the reporter, baby, you could be the news.
Miguel is on the same vibe as SZA to me. Like, you're crazy talented, you're really hot, you should be one of my favorite artists ever, and yet something about you just isn't clicking the way it should. The difference is that 2023 was the year that did finally make SZA click for me, while I'm still working on Miguel. Whatever though. It's an R&B classic of the 2010s that got a bunch of well-deserved love. Expecting it to change the world is probably asking a bit too much of it. It's a very classic R&B move, this whole you're this thing, I'm the complimentary thing, and Miguel is much better than most people at making classic R&B moves sound interesting.
Put it on camera, masturbate to it later. Ever sucked a vegan dick, baby, come taste me.
Oh, men used to buy women flowers.
Times don't change that we on a first class trip.
Unironically, the best Travis Scott song we've gotten in years.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Anti-Hero by Taylor Swift asks a lot of the listener. I give people a lot of shit for not being as willing to sit down and really engage with media these days, but the truth is that I get it. We're subject to not just a constant stream, but a constant fire hose directly to the face of which media to choose. It's understandable to only choose to deeply engage with the ones that make the best immediate first impression. Thankfully, Anti-Hero is a really solid pop track, even if you don't choose to engage with it. Jack Antonoff has kind of become a meme in the pop world for his partnership with Pop Girls as their very middling, unchallenging sound engineer, but this is probably the best use of Jack Antonoff I've heard in years. I saw a comment that said something to the effect of the most interesting ways to engage with pop music being to find the narratives within its tapestry, and Taylor Swift's career arc fitting into that template so perfectly that it seems almost pre-written. This song is overwritten, yeah, but it's overwritten in the same way as a Noah Baumbach or Wes Anderson movie. Like, it's self-aware in its pretensions and knows when to turn them down. Personally speaking, I think this song works extremely effectively, and I think I'm gonna wrap up this video by letting Markiplier explain why.
The reason it was so sad is because I had this realization when I was watching that I would never be able to have a personal connection.
Because you were too big?
I got too successful. That is something that people don't realize how much it affected me, because not a lot of people have that same connection with the audience they have. I literally grew up as a human being with these people, and to know that I would never be able to have the kind of connection I had when I started, that was devastating to me.
I'm Sean Fay-Wolfe of Diamond Axe Studios, and the best list will be premiering tomorrow. Let's finish this. Please do me a favor and write a comment or two below discussing what you thought about this video, the music I talked about in it, or literally anything else. Interaction is hugely important to YouTube's algorithm, and so along with liking, subscribing, and joining my Patreon, comments are some of the best appreciation you can show if you enjoy what I do here. As you write your comment, let me ask you, would you like to have your opinions on music heard in my upcoming videos? Well, you can do that with a pledge of literally just $1 per video on Patreon. At the end of each of my videos, I give the mic over to my patrons and let them share their thoughts on the music I'm discussing. The patron reviews will start again in my upcoming Worst Hit Songs of 2024 videos. If you'd like to take part, you can do so for a pledge of just $1 per video on Patreon. For $2 per video, you can take part in the voting and suggestions for grab bag reviews. For $5 per video, you get access to a community of awesome people on my Discord server. For a $10 pledge, you gain early access to my videos as I work on them, plus your own custom icon, as you can see below. And for a $20 pledge, you get to skip the voting process and handpick a song for me to review in new episodes of Grab Bag Reviews. Thank you to all of my patrons for your extraordinary support over the difficulty of these last few years. The future is bright, and I can't wait to explore it with all of you. I'm Sean Fay-Wolfe of Diamond Axe Studios, and until next time, take care of yourselves.